Hi, everyone. Deborah Hamilton, Hamilton Law and Mediation, the Why Do Pets Matter podcast, and of course, the community call where we're here tonight. I have to say, the third time was a charm. I kept starting the wrong Zooms. I don't know. It was one of those days. Hoping everyone has listened to the prior broadcasts of the MAAP community call because there is so much great information for everyone on how to navigate the care of their pets if something happens to them. Hi, Sally. Hi, Susan. Hi, Rose. Wonderful to see you all. It's been quite a last few days. A lot of the D's, I have them written down here, are being called into question now. So we know about dementia and divorce and death and documents, right? Those are some of the things we talk about. Those are the things you have to write and do and think about when you're creating a plan for your pet. But in the last 48 hours or so, we might have to think about deployment. We might have to think about disaster. We might have to think about, well, for me, disability or delay in disability. So I'm going to start with the disaster and deployment first, because of course, some of the people who are on this in this community are service personnel. And so with everything that's happening in Russia and the Ukraine, we may in fact have people being deployed. And I thought tonight would be a really good night to talk about what to do if you're deployed with pets. Now, if you have family members or you have parents or friends who would take your pets if you're deployed, fabulous. But make sure you leave them with information on what to do with your pet, what to do with your pet if you get delayed coming back or if something happens. You want to let people know how you want your beloved animal to be cared for in the event something happens to you. There are great foster communities for veterans, but also for active duty service people, so that they can find the care for their pets that they're going to need in the event they're deployed. No one thought after we left Afghanistan that we would be deploying members of the military to any place, anywhere soon. However, that changed in the matter of 48 hours. I must say, here in Beaufort, North Carolina, a bustling metropolis, and if you've ever watched my musings with Junie, you know that's not true. We saw the deployment of all of the helicopters, trucks, jeeps, all the vehicles, in a naval service ship, a roll-on, roll-off ship. It was amazing. Here's this little town of Beaufort, and they just stop all the traffic as 200, military vehicles get driven onto a boat from storage across the street. I mean, you just wait. It's amazing. But it is an important thing that all of us need to think about if we are members of the military, if we might be called up because we're in the reserves, whatever it is. Have a plan for your pet, have it in writing, share it with 2 or 3 people, not just the person watching your pet in case something happens to them. You want people to know what you want to have done with your cat, your dog, your bird, your horse, your lizard, your snake, whatever it is. You need to make sure that they are cared for while you're gone. And hopefully you come back and get reunited really quickly, and then make sure that plan is somewhere so that you can make sure the pets are cared for. So without further ado, I'm going to check in with everyone. Susan, how is Maggie?
Maggie's good. She still has her barking ways, but I really think she's bonding with us and not seeing a whole lot of biting. She still does bite my husband, even on the trazodone, which is kind of upsetting. I know. I'm sorry to tell you that. But the thing is, if she were unhappy, if I thought it wasn't a good match, I did discuss this with Kathy, rehoming Maggie, but the bottom line is I think we would all feel bad doing that, and I think it would be really distressing to Maggie.
Well, I want to congratulate you because, first of all, you've taken a step, which is helping Maggie feel better with you and your son. And the next step is having Maggie feel better with your husband. And of course,
Yeah.
I know Connie will blend in here, and so will Sally, saying maybe have your husband do more of the routine, mundane things for Maggie, like he's the one who
He
feeds her.
does.
Oh, wow.
He does. And what I'm wondering though is, my husband's not been well. So I'm just kind of wondering if maybe that's part of it, because I know dogs can sniff out certain
Energy
illnesses.
You're absolutely right. Yep.
She's been really bonding with me. It's been wonderful. She's on the sofa next to me. She puts her little chin right on my leg, and she's just as content and happy as she could possibly be. And so it's a real agonizing thing for me, because on the one hand, she can be impossible, and she has been, but she's calmed down. But at the same time, she still does bite Tom, and that's upsetting.
Yeah. One step at a time.
Yeah.
And sometimes when we have puppies, I don't know what Connie does, but sometimes when we have puppies who are teething on our arms and our legs and our toes, the toes are the worst. I tend to get a little spray bottle of lemon juice and squirt it in the mouth. And that sometimes is a deterrent. I don't know if Tom is up for doing that.
He probably isn't.
Or whether that'll matter, but
Yeah.
that really can stop, because it really makes them shake their mouth. They hate it. Lemon juice will not hurt them, by the way. It just stops them from doing the naughtiness. I'm going to check in with Connie next so that I can hear what's up with her, and also whether or not she has some secret to that nipping.
Well, first of all, as you can see, it's kind of gray outside. We got bombarded with rain and wind yesterday evening. In fact, I was out at the Verizon store because my cell phone suddenly, the battery decided to go poof. And fortunately, it was a lithium ion battery. And fortunately, it did not blow up and burn the house down as it could have. But it kind of exploded out of the back of the case when I dropped it accidentally on the floor. And it has undergone, lots of drops before, but this one, was the icing on the cake. So when I was at the Verizon store, it was, coming down in buckets. And I was forewarned because the sky got very ominous before I left the house. And it's doing exactly the same thing right now. The grapevine, which for those who are not Southern Californians, is the route on Interstate 5 that connects Metro Los Angeles with the San Joaquin Valley, which of course is better known to us Californians as the Central Valley. That's our big agricultural area. But you go up to a summit of about 4,500 feet, and you are in the San Gabriel Mountains.
Wow.
And so it snows up there when we get weather like this. And indeed, the California Highway Patrol shut down the grapevine in both directions, northbound and southbound, cutting off all traffic between the north and the central part of California and Southern California. And people who were there, if they could not turn around and go back to where they came from, were stuck in the snow and the ice and the wind and the everything. And it gets bloody cold up there. So at any rate, I heard that this morning on the CBS News radio affiliate here. And I thought, oh boy. So it's looking
hopefully
about
they didn't have their
thing.
dogs with them.
Well, yeah, if you have dogs or kids, you're just kind of hosed.
Yeah.
So that's, delay, disaster, whatever. And, it's once again,
Could
here in
lead to
California.
disability because you get some frostbite.
Oh yeah, you sure can. And your dogs, of course, can get frostbite on their paws.
Yep.
So it is not a good situation. Hopefully it will not repeat, but we have winter storm warnings up in our mountains, and we do have mountains here in Southern California.
Well, we will tuck you and the northern Southern Californians in our prayers as well.
Thank you. But as far, Susan, as the biting, what I do for my puppies, whether they're the little ones with the razor sharp puppy teeth or after the siblings go to their forever homes and I am left with, oh my God, I've got an 11-week-old puppy on my hands, my pick of the litter. What I usually do is, yes, they will teeth on your arm, and the older you get, the thinner your skin is, and you spout geysers of blood. And so what I do is when they will nibble, I just go, ow, big dramatic, oh my God, I'm wounded for life. And then I stick a chew toy in their mouths. And if you have ever seen a puppy's gums, when either the puppy teeth or, God forbid, the adult dentition is erupting into the gums, they are so swollen, they're painful to look at, and the puppy is in pain and needs to teeth. So I usually use things that they can't destroy and ingest, but that provide them with good chewing. And I like a chili bone, which numbs the gums. It's a fabric bone. You dunk it in water, you throw it in the freezer, and then you give it to them. But for an adult dog that does that, I would go the route of screaming and yelling like you've been mortally wounded, and making a big deal about it, and shoving something in the dog's mouth.
Yeah, I've used those spiral things, which aren't the best for little dogs. However, if she has a favorite toy, keep it on hand for Tom to shove in her mouth the minute she bites him. So that's a great idea. I'm just meaner than you are, Connie. That's all. So,
I didn't
and
want
all
to
the
say
dogs-
that, but
Well, I want immediate obedience, so lemon in your
Right.
mouth. But that I do when they bark too. So my dogs don't bark or bite very often because they're like holy Toledo. Although I think Sally probably will check in and say, I think they do bark. How are you, Sally?
I'm great. And yes, they do bark. I can't argue with that. The dogs here are great. 70 degrees in Connecticut, a day out of heaven. And tomorrow, 6 to 10 inches of snow.
yeah, you're probably getting our weather moving across the country.
Yeah, so, today was simply wonderful. All of us outside playing and just having the times of our lives. And we walked and walked and walked. And I walked yesterday and I realized they need water. And there was still some snow. So I kicked the dirty part off and gave them the clean part underneath. Not much snow today. And I thought, I think we'll go back. So we walked a long time and then a long time the second time and came back, and now they're resting. But I think I've noticed one of my dogs has bad breath, and I'm trying to figure out what do I do with this bad breath. I've got an 11 and 12-year-old living here, and I'm like, what's causing this? Because the diet hasn't changed or anything. But I'm like, well, I should be concerned. This is something different. So.
Yeah, it is always a concern. So when bad breath comes up, it could be something in their belly that's coming up and telling you what's happening, or it could just be a bad tooth. So probably just because you live so close to your vet, that you should take a drive down just to see. It's always a little problematic to think about doing a dental on an 11 or a 12-year-old. Although both of them thankfully have gotten a clean bill of health the last time they checked out. However, it's tough to do that. But finding something, if their food, well, first of all, maybe their food hasn't changed with you, but maybe it changed while you were away. And maybe that might be a little carryover from the stress that they had because their sous chefs and maid weren't with them for a week. They actually decided to take a vacation, and this might be a carryover.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, I was just speaking to the caregiver, and she said, well, she loves all the raw duck treats on top of her food, loves eating all the raw food. And I'm going, I don't give them too much raw food. I give them some, but that's like a special treat. So that's, it's a possibility.
Yep. And so you've been home for 4 days, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So give them a week before you worry, and then maybe Monday after the snowstorm, if you're still worried, just make sure that you know, have them checked out, because, you know, the gut comes up through the mouth. And so if it doesn't go out the other way, it goes up this way. And because Athena is it Athena or is it Roxy?
No,
Oh,
it's
it's
Roxy.
Oh, it's a smelly girl. Well, she can go have her teeth done. We don't care. She's tough as nails. Nothing's ever going to happen to her. She's just Brutus. She really is. She's Brutus, and nothing will happen to her. But yeah, smelling bad is something we really need to check out. But was Roxy getting the extra duct treats?
No, I don't know what Roxy was getting, but it's interesting because Athena kept shaking her head. And I was like, oh, shoot, I just hate to clean a dog's ears. And, you know, I did contact.
Especially when you just came back from vacation, when they're showing you how much they dislike that you left.
Yeah, and I said, how far down into the ear can I go with the Q-tip? And the vet came right back to me and was very clear exactly what I should do and which meds, and I had everything. But it's tough for me. I mean, I'm not a vet, and to take, you know, a Q-tip and to clean out an ear, it's hard for me.
Yeah,
I'm
it
like
is.
Susan, you know, it's like I'm not comfortable doing that.
Yeah, it's a crapshoot. I'm sure that Connie, you've probably had your moments too with the Wheaton's ears, although
Oh, absolutely.
and it's hard. You don't know how deep.
Well, what I do, I actually don't go down with a Q-tip. I use Zymox
So do
ear
I.
cleanse, which is fabulous, and it gets rid of all the debris and the yuck and whatever. And they make steroidal with 10% cortisone, which I don't use unless the ear is actually infected. But they also make a non-steroidal that I use twice a week for regular cleaning and never have a problem.
What I love about that is it doesn't make the ear wet.
Right. It dries
Because
right up.
I don't think it's alcohol based because it doesn't burn.
Right.
It doesn't burn my fingers. I'm not asking the dog whether or not it burns because they can't tell me, but I usually chew my fingers. So I have little open cuts on my fingers. So I put it on and it doesn't burn my fingers. So I know it doesn't burn the dog's ears because
and they don't seem to be bothered. You know,
Yeah.
They don't even shake their heads when I put the drops down. So,
Yep. So we started off tonight talking about such a pleasant experience, you know, what's happening in the world.
right.
And if you're pets, you really need to know what to do with your pets. You know, all of us here, Susan is still working on hers, but Sally and Connie have made their plans, have checked in with everyone, keep checking in with everyone about next steps. But if you are in any way going to be impacted by the deployment, or you're going to be impacted by working on a military base and not being able to get home because you're working overtime. I mean, Connie, you were in aerospace, so you know, all hands on deck when things like
Absolutely.
this happen. So you really need to make a plan for your pets to make sure they're cared for. And with that being said, I know all of you are surprised. I'm supposed to have my knee replaced March 10th. And guess who called today? The orthopedic surgeon nurse, and said, you've been denied your surgery. Again.
Oh my God.
Third time will be a charm, I'm sure. They are going, as opposed to the other doctor who wouldn't appeal it, they are going to appeal it and see what the story is, because there was no reason given why, just because. So I'm all set up for surgery. I'm supposed to have March 10th. I had my CAT scan already, which I had to pay for because Aetna wouldn't pick it up. My dog is ready, so that's why I'm bringing this up. My dog is ready to go to Camp Janie Bristow, where he will remember what a master hunter does. Janie always says they are only master hunters the day they finish their degree. After that, their brain goes to mush. And when you bring them back a month later, it's been like 6 months for him. He will, almost a year. I picked him up in March. They will know nothing. And that's okay. I mean, he'll have fun. He'll have no coat when he comes back, but that's okay too. He'll probably come back in 2 weeks, I hope, which would be the 20th of March, if in fact things go well. And if they don't go well, I'll just continue to do physical therapy until my eyes fall out and we'll be fine. But speaking about making a plan, so I have my husband who's getting a little worried about my surgery. So anybody who's planning for surgery, remember your spouse gets really worried. If your spouse is sick, you're worried. So my husband's worried. And I made the plan for Junie to leave, not because I don't think he'd be really good for Jim while I'm recovering. I think that Junie likes to drop on the bed. Now, if any of you have really big dogs, they get up on the bed while you're in it, and then they drop on you like a ton of potatoes. And he often drops right on my knee. And he's thin, so there's not a lot of cushioning. So there's a few pointy edges called elbows and knees and hips that could and hocks that could really cause a little bit of discomfort. So I would prefer to have him with me, but I know for my safety and his safety, it's not just all about the pets, it's about you too. You really need to make a plan for the pets. So he's going to go, but how am I getting him there? Well, I have a friend who lives outside of Raleigh in a town called Creedmoor, North Carolina, and she's going to come and help me pack up some of the boxes because, of course, in the interim, we're also going to be moving by the end of March. I know, start laughing now because it is, yes, clap. The electric has been brought to the street to the house. Has it been connected to the house yet? No. The propane tank was found. Wish we couldn't find one. Has it been buried? Yes. Has it been connected to the house? No. Has the new well been dug? Yes. Has it been connected to the house? No.
No.
So you cannot get a C of O if you don't have electric, propane, and water. I'm just sharing that piece of information with everyone on this call because if you are thinking about getting a certificate of occupancy in your house, all those things need to be attached, and you need to have every electrical wire attached to what it's electrifying, i.e. your fans, your lights, and I have a few electrical wires still unattached to their appropriate fixture. So we're waiting for the electrician who is coming on Monday, coming on Tuesday, coming today. I didn't see him, neither did anyone else, but we're hoping he's coming tomorrow. So we're really hopeful. But you have to really make plans to keep your pets safe. So I have an air and a spare. So my friend Kathy McNamee, who has been on this call a few times, she's going to come help me pack up some of the things here in Beaufort, and then also look at the house and hopefully pick her room because everyone will have to pick their room and come visit. Then she will drive Junie back to Raleigh, and my friend Carolyn McAteer will drive in from Pinehurst, pick Junie up, and drive him to Janie in Sanders, North Carolina, so that he can spend 2 weeks running his brains out, losing all the hair and weight I've put on him. But I understand my dismay. However, he will have no dismay being there. He will be happy as a clam. He may miss me, but as I was feeding him tonight, so everyone on this call will laugh hysterically because he stopped eating, and I am the queen of, I can outweight you. I can outweight you. And I have met my match. I cannot outweight him. He didn't eat for like a week. And I said, okay, so I will start with some kibble mixed with chopped meat, mixed with pumpkin, made into little meatballs. So I started with that. Then he wouldn't necessarily eat that. So then I added a little bit of fresh chicken broth and chicken. And I know that Sally creates these wonderful gourmet dinners for the dogs all the time. I'm 1-800 you'll survive on kibble until I have met my match in Junie. So recognize, everyone listening here, that even though you set this barrier, there will come a time in your life when you will meet a dog who will test your mettle. And I'm older, I'm less dedicated to the cause, and I have given in to cooking for my dog, which is, right, Connie, the worst thing you could ever start. However, here I am, owning up to the fact that my ironclad rule of eat what's put in front of you or starve has gone through the wayside. So any comments are welcome. Susan, how do you feed Maggie? Does she eat anything you put down?
She eats anything and everything, including dental floss.
Oh, that's straight to her gut. That's not good. We have to stop her from doing
Oh.
that.
No.
That's
Very
not-
bad.
That'll wrap around her intestines and make her a crazy person. So yeah,
Yeah,
she's a naughty
has
girl
no
in the garbage.
trouble, eating anything. It seems like she if I'm eating and I have vegetables, she loves vegetables, anything. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, you're
she will
lucky.
not starve.
I've had 35 years of dogs who just ate what I put down and loved it. And I have met my match. And Sally, how are you with the girls? I know that there's one dog there who, when she came to my house, ate everything I put down. But when she came to your house, decided, ooh, this is a gourmet restaurant. I'm just going to wait them out until they give me what I want.
Well, I was speaking to the dog sitter, and she said she wouldn't eat like I'd put down. Of course, there were meals prepared and frozen for every day we were away. And she'd look at it and go, oh, I don't think so.
It was frozen. It wasn't made fresh.
No. And there was fresh broth to be defrosted and put on top. And it's like 4 different kinds of cheeses. And that's when she found the raw treats. And she was like, oh, well, this works. And the next day, I don't want the raw treats. I would like the tiny sliced ham. And I don't want the Parmesan cheese. I want the Mexican blend cheese. I'm like, really? But she's keeping her weight on. She's like a huge 52 pounds. And we're just like, please stay there. And the amazing thing is, I have to clear it as soon as it is interesting. She doesn't like breakfast, basically. So she'll eat a tiny bit of breakfast. I scoop it up and put it in the kitchen, or her sister will eat it.
Oh, yeah.
And then at lunchtime, I'll put it down. And at lunchtime, she'll eat it. But it's like people. She doesn't like breakfast. She doesn't want to eat in the morning. Her sister does. She doesn't. I'm like, okay, I get that.
Her sister eats any time of the day.
Yes.
There is really not a time of the day that she says, nope, not for me. Sorry. So this is what I'm used to. I'm used to someone like Molly, Maggie, who eats all the time. Roxy, put food down, gone. And I'm sure, Connie, most of the terriers are usually really good eaters.
The girls, fabulous. The boys, not so much. Pardon me. My girls have never been an issue. In fact, it was when Bammy started eating that I knew that, something was serious, or stopped eating, I should say, that I knew that something was seriously wrong with her. And I rushed her into the vet. And she was, in her terminal phase, unfortunately. But her daughter should be named Eureka, which is the motto of the state of California on the state seal, but it's also the name of a vacuum cleaner. And it fits her very nicely because I don't even get the bowl on the floor before it's, all gone. And both the dogs sit and wait very politely for me to feed them, but she is a cholera.
Yeah. Yep.
She should be with the Met.
And that's my life always,
Yeah.
except for this kid. So it might be the boy thing.
But Casey and my other boy way back, Magoo, who left us in 2016 at the age of almost 13, went through a phase when they were adolescent boys, when their raging hormones had them focused on one part of their anatomy, and it wasn't the GI tract.
Yes.
So they tended not to eat. Casey, though, has picked up the pace slightly. He's going to be 3 in less than a month. But Sally, he too is not a breakfast boy. He will eat his breakfast, but we have to wake up. We have to stretch a lot. We have to think about it. We have to get into the moment. We have to have a few cups of coffee, that kind of thing, and then he'll eat. His dinner gone. So, it's just, it depends. But I find that the boys are a lot harder to deal with feeding than the girls.
I have had owners call me and tell me, how do I make them eat? Because a few of the girls and boys didn't eat very well. And I said, I really don't know, because mine are, maybe because there's several of them. And so that's that competition thing.
Right.
But mine always ate in their own kennel. So it wasn't like somebody was going to come and eat them. or eat their food. It just was really never an issue until Junie, and Junie has made it his life's mission to look at me with those little half moons under his eyes. My husband goes, "You've never had a dog with half moons under his eyes?" I go, "I know." And just say to me, "Yeah, not today, Mom. No, not today." And of course, I tried to wean him off the special mixture after about a month of him being on the special mixture of my chicken soup and chicken and the meatballs that I make, so that when he goes to Janie's, he will eat. Because last time he went, he didn't really eat. He ate the primal raw stuff all the time, which I think probably attacks his gut like nobody else's business because it's so much, concentrated protein, but he wouldn't necessarily eat the food. So if you're having problem, well, I'm going to put diet on here as a D.
That's another D. I love it.
Yep, I got them all. I'm sitting here going, okay, I got to remember to tell Janie all the things. I have it all written up already, so she knows how to care for him. I have all the numbers written, so she knows who to call if something happens to him. I have my husband with all the numbers to call so that everybody knows, because she wants to know that I'm going to be okay, and tell Junie so he'll know. It just needs the time you take. It's interesting. I can tell you, 6 people call my office to make a MAP plan. So I'm very sure that these things are being watched by others. And I'm so grateful all of you show up so we can have this continued conversation on the importance of making a MAP plan. And I'm working with several attorneys around the country who go, "Well, that sounds really smart. I've never heard of that before." So we're getting out there. We're getting this message to people who need the message, who need to understand that care of your pet's not going to fall like manna from heaven. You have to make a plan. It doesn't have to be an elaborate plan, but it has to be a plan that people will help you implement. You have to have people who are going to help follow the direction. People have to know about it. And you have to work within your trust and estate documents to make sure that they work whether you're dead or alive. This week, I realized from talking with an attorney in North Carolina that if you make your pet trust irrevocable. Remember, we talk about making your pet trust irrevocable if you're over like 65, because God forbid you need money to take care of you, they will invade a trust that's not irrevocable. And he said, well, if it's, irrevocable, you can change the pets in the pet trust. If it's revocable, you can change the pets in the pet trust. If it's irrevocable, you cannot. It's the law in North Carolina. Learned something new this week. So that's why I always like to work with everyone's attorney to make sure that what I'm talking about works in your state, because I'm a generic MAP plan maker. But I always love working with attorneys who are trust and estate attorneys to help them help you make this plan that you can edit yourself, that you can update because things have changed with your dog. You can update because there are things that have changed with your caregivers, right? You can update because you've changed your location or you've changed whatever it is you've changed. You need to be able to change it without having to go through writing your trust and estate documents again. That could be a really expensive proposition. So make sure that if you are writing the MAP plan, this is supposed to be that time when you think about, oh, let me make a plan for my dog, and maybe I should make a plan for myself. What a concept. I want you to do that. I want you to tell people how you would like things to go if, in fact, something happens to you in the 9 Ds, which is deployment, disaster, disability, delay, dementia, divorce, death, documents, and diet. If the dogs need a certain diet, that's under addressing the needs of the dogs or the cats or the birds or the horses. Don't get me wrong. I love all of them. So while we wrap up, I'm going to ask you guys whether or not you found it helpful to have the MAP plan with you when you were making your trust and estate plans, because all of you I know have at least trust and estate plans in place. I know, Susan, you might still be waiting to update your trust and estate plans to include the MAP plan.
Well, yeah, I did ask my attorney to contact you, and I think that's one of the problems. He didn't seem to want to do that.
Oh, that's all right. So just write an email to him and me and say, I just want to introduce you both, and I'll take it from there. You know, I am the friendliest networking person in the entire universe. So I always tell people if their attorney doesn't want to speak to me, that's okay. Just write an introduction email and say, hi, Steve. I want to introduce you to Deborah, and hi, Deborah. I want to introduce you to Steve, and I'd like both of you to help me put my trust and estate matters in order. I'm so glad you said that because, you know, some people think I'm crazy. And, you know, we've been together now for over a year and a half, maybe almost two. And I am crazy about certain things. I'm crazy about making a plan for your pet so your pet is cared for. So, yes, I will talk to any attorney, and I understand they might think I'm a loony, but really it's all about your pets. And so I am able to have a conversation with anyone, no bars intended, so that they understand what it is you're trying to do. So don't hesitate, Susan. Connie, was your attorney welcoming? I think I remember they were.
Yes, you did work with her, and no, she appreciated the help. She loved it, and she learned a lot. And she said, "I need to do this for my dog," and
Yeah.
so she did.
Amazing, amazing. And hopefully
Yeah.
she now asks that question that I tell all trust and estate attorneys to ask. Do you have any pets that we have to think about if something happens to you? It's the most important question to ask after you ask about the children or elderly parents that you might be responsible for. The next thing to ask about is about the pets, because people don't think that that's something they need to put in their planning, but it absolutely is, because otherwise the pets are not cared for, and that's not what anyone wants who's listening to this call, I'm sure. Hey, Sally, I'm sure that yours were also very interested to hear about that MAAP plan.
Yeah, definitely. And we're actually kind of tweaking it now. We've realized, life's friends and people and the caregivers all change. And so we are tweaking it and changing it very shortly. Yeah.
You know, it's important to recognize that, you know, when you appoint caregivers, they are appointed on the day you appoint them. And then as little as 5 minutes later, something might happen in their life and they can't help you. And that's not their fault. That's simply A, you want to find out as soon as possible. That's so important. And B, you know, you want to find someone else. And I know that's the hardest thing, Susan. We've talked about that so often, finding those caregivers, especially for a dog who's a little bit of a nipper, because it's hard for people to want to take care of a nipper. However, we really need to make sure we have an heir and a spare and then one. As I said, when the AKC woman spoke about having 10 names to call, I'm like, I can hardly get people to find 3, and she wants you to find 10. Let's make it almost impossible so no one does anything. So I'm only asking you for 3. Only 1 can be a family member. The other 2 need to be either that nosy neighbor who's going to tell Animal Care and Control not to take your dogs out of the house, and then someone's going to come and take care of your dogs, or it could be your breeder. It could be the rescue you got the dog from, even though that's the last place you want them to go back to. It is the last place they can go back to safely. So don't forget that. And so we're, of course, coming up. I'm 10 minutes over. I'm really getting bad at this being 30 minutes, and I apologize, guys. I am so grateful you're all here. Okay, so now let's ask that last question. So what are you going to do in the next 24 hours to take your mind off of World War III? Sally, go.
I'm going to hug my dogs and rub their tummies, go for walks, when it's not snowing. I just, the joy of having the dogs, and when they're upbeat and positive and playful. Yeah, yeah, it makes me happy. It makes them happy. So that's for me.
Okay, Connie?
Unfortunately, I can't. Having been part of the national security community for over 30 years, I can't take my mind off World War III, and I know way too much about what's going on for my own psychological well-being. So I'm very concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. Susan?
I'm just going to be saying prayers that this goes away, that this ends, because I can't even wrap my head around it, to tell you the truth.
I know, so troubling.
I don't want to even think about it, to be honest, but it's,
Our
I
pets
just have to keep praying that something will stop this from,
our pets will keep us at least a little grounded because we know we have to get up, take them out, walk them, even though things might be happening. I have to say, I had a long talk with my youngest son, Thomas, who, like Connie, is a student of the military, of military actions, because he is an American history and a European history major, so he knows all about it. He also has read probably every book on warfare that has ever come out. So he's having a moment like you are, Connie. And so we're trying to keep, I wish I could shift me down there to keep him sane, but we can't. But it really is, it's a time when I'm going to do the same thing Susan's going to do. I'm going to pray a lot. And I'm going to get those gaves going to, I said to my son today, I can only hope that we have another Cuban Missile Crisis where somebody blinks. And that would be the greatest thing in the universe. Let's have somebody blink. Let's have somebody recognize this is not worth it and blink. That's my first bet. My second bet is to pray. And my third thing is to do what Sally's going to do, which is rub Junie's belly for good luck and hope for the best. And I'm sure in between watching CNN, which could drive you nuts, and MSNBC and everybody else, I'm sure, Connie, you'll be rubbing Casey's belly. And
Patsy watches Rachel Maddow, although she's on hiatus now. Ali Velshi.
I'm sure she'll be back. I'm sure she will not be on hiatus if something happens. So I'm sure she'll be back.
No,
guys.
But I will leave everybody with the fact that this morning on Facebook was posted a picture of a Ukrainian soldier on the front lines, all in his camo, with his assault rifle. He's next to a tank, and he's hugging his Belgian Malinois right there on the front lines with him. And it was heartbreaking.
Need we say anything more? I mean,
right.
On every front, our animals are going to hopefully save us. And so I'm going to tuck those two in my prayers, because the Malinois is there supporting the military person he's working with, and
absolutely
yet at just as much risk. So until next Wednesday, hopefully we will come back and talk about the Cuban Missile Crisis end to this terrible and stupid standoff, and not have to talk about anything else. Please hug and kiss your dogs for me, your cats for me, your horses, your birds, your snakes. I wouldn't really kiss your snake, but I might. I'm not quite sure. But if I saw it and it was nice, I might. But until next Wednesday, this is Deborah Hamilton, Hamilton Law Mediation, the Why Do Pets Matter podcast, and of course, this wonderful MAAP community that I don't know what I do without. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.